Do you believe that Donald Trump is going to hit Iran? Softball to start.
Well, I think, I don't know what's going on in President Trump's mind, but I can give you the view from the region, the view from the UAE. I think that the region has gone through various calamitous confrontations. I don't think we need another one, but I would like to see direct Iranian American negotiations leading to understandings that we don't have these issues every other day. It is extremely important that many of the key issues that have rocked the bilateral relationship and has had an impact on the region, and foremost amongst them is the nuclear issue, is addressed directly, and that it doesn't become a source of instability and a source of questions like these every year or two. Thank you.
In your mind, is the Iranian regime closer to being neutralized than in the past? And what I mean by that is, are they, at least in your mind, not as close to obtaining that nuclear capability?
Well, I think from everything that I know, Iran today needs to reach a deal. I think Iran, on the one hand, has suffered geopolitically, and at the same time, its economy needs to rebuild itself, and to rebuild that, they need to rebuild their relationship with the United States. I think through reaching a deal, a political deal, a wider geostrategic deal that will actually be beneficial to the area, the Iranians are also helping themselves in ultimately what they need, which is rebuild their economy.
Mr. Secretary, you worked side by side with President Trump during the first administration. We understand that Steve Witkoff is going to be meeting with his Iranian counterpart in Istanbul in just a few days from now. Do you believe they'll get a deal done?
Oh, goodness. First of all, it's great to be with you all. Second, when I talk about Iran, I always like to do full disclosure. They're still trying to kill me, so I'm biased, for sure. $1 million bounty on my head, which my wife thinks is a little low. No, it's unimaginable that there can be a deal, to me. We've had a deal with the Iranians multiple times. They have cheated and lied and avoided compliance with every deal they've signed. I watched President Trump. I was there. I recommended to the president that he withdraw from the previous nuclear deal that we had agreed to under President Obama. I think they may come away with some set of understandings, but to think that there's a long-term solution that actually provides stability and peace to this region while the Ayatollah is still in power is something I pray for but find unimaginable.
In your mind, do you believe that we'll see Donald Trump pull another Venezuela in Iran?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, we're all sitting in the middle of lots of American firepower today, right? As we're here. My observation is that previously when President Trump has done that, when there have been large-scale deployments and in the end he wasn't able to achieve his objective, he has used that to try and create further leverage to get what it is he's hoping for. And you know, I always go back to this. It always sounds so punitive or harsh, and I agree with Dr. Gargash. Iran would be wise to find a way forward that is fundamentally different. Wise not just for America and for the region, but for the Iranian people. It's hard for me to see the current leadership, the current regime actually change in that way. And so I think President Trump will continue to be determined to try and drive that.
Mr. Secretary, we've seen U.S. President Donald Trump catching a lot of flack from European leaders in the last couple of weeks at Davos. Opinions were divided. If you were at the USA House, people were extremely proud of the U.S., and I think elsewhere people were looking askance, perhaps. During the first administration, I was there at the NATO meeting when President Trump essentially said to NATO leaders, you're not spending enough, and you're in deep trouble when it comes to energy security.
I was there too.
You were there too. Yeah. In your mind, is this what the president's looking for, a reset with Europe that forces them to confront their own reality?
I think you have to place this in context of his vision, right, for how he thinks about security and deterrence, right? He stares at the problem in Europe and says something that just annoys the hell out of the Europeans, for sure, right? He says,
truth?
What he says is, hey, Vladimir Putin didn't invade Europe on my watch. He invaded under President Obama. He took Crimea, and then he didn't for 4 years, and then he went back at it again when I left. And you can say it's good luck. I've had people tell me it was, my Christian faith. But in the end, it was a deterrence model that I think worked. And he stares at Europe and says, get your act together. And not only spend more of your money on things related to security, right? We talk about 2% or 5% of GDP. That's great. But the most important thing, and Dr. Gargash, you hit on this, the most important thing is continuing to move our economies forward. That's, in the end, how you really get peace, is to have a growing economy. And Europe has demonstrated a consistent inability to achieve that. And he is trying to drive them to say, you can run a social welfare state, but if you're going to turn to the United States to bail you out of those decisions about how you run your own government, those days are behind us. And I don't think it means a break with Europe. I don't think it means that the transatlantic alliance is lost. I think that's the CNN, BBC narrative. I think the reality is he's trying to convince them that the world has moved past those models of governance, that you need to take responsibility for security for your own nation. And when you do, we will continue to work with all of our friends, our Emirati friends, our friends in Europe, to deliver the very peace and security that is driven by a deterrence model that demonstrates a fundamental resolve and seriousness about your own nation's security in a way that Europeans I was a young soldier 40 years ago. For 40 years have failed to do.
Jelajahi cara baru mendapatkan informasi. Download MetroTV Extend sekarang.